Love. Love. I want to talk about love. Love is good. And I love everything. And I love you. Yes, I do. Love. Real love. My name is Charles Webster Bear, and today is May 17, 2021. And I'm in Terrebonne, Oregon, USA. And my website is globalinternetgovernment.com. And I want to talk about love. Love is good. And I love you. I also want to talk about a few other things while we're at it. I want to talk about depopulationism. So let's talk about that as well. Depopulationism is a idea, a concept, a word. And I believe it was created by the Chinese government in the 1980s. It's also known as the one woman, one child policy. And basically, depopulationists like myself feel that it is illegal and immoral for any human being on Earth to reproduce a second time in this millennium, the 21st, or this century, the 21st century. Now, depopulationists like myself want to create a significant and sustained and immediate decline in the human population on Earth. And we want to do this because that will allow the human population on Earth to arrive at a sustainable level. And this is a number for future generations to determine, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's around 2 or 3 billion people. And this will give the environment an opportunity to heal. And this will allow for more trees to grow back on the planet. And then in the future, when people want to breathe oxygen, they'll be able to do that because there'll be enough trees to create enough oxygen for people to breathe. And then we won't all suffocate to death. And that's a good thing. Because the issue is a biological one. Human overpopulation on Earth is creating a level of deforestation that is going to reach a tipping point here soon. And then we'll be past the point of no return. And then we'll try to breathe, and we won't be able to because there won't be enough oxygen for us to breathe, because there won't be enough trees to create enough oxygen for us to breathe because we cut them all down because we're stupid. And then it'll be too late, and then we'll all die. Which is the path we're on now, which is why we need to get on a different path. You see, the human population on Earth is increasing, which is the incorrect direction. We're on a suicide course. So the human population on Earth needs to decrease. And the civilized and rational and logical and fair way to do this is depopulationism, where females can choose the correct choice to have 0 children, or the incorrect choice to have 1 child, but the third choice, kill the planet, have more than 1 child, that's no longer available because I'm removing that option from the table because I'm sane. And that's depopulationism. Now, I became a depopulationist in 1985, so I've been talking about this for 36 years. So I've actually, in my opinion, gotten pretty good about talking about it, I think. I'm getting better, but I think I've achieved a level where I can convey this message thoroughly and simply and completely and consistently and happily and politely and calmly. And so that's what I do. So that's depopulationism. Depopulationism isn't complicated. It's actually very simple. There's enough people on the planet, so you don't need to make more people. In fact, there's probably too many people on the planet, which means you shouldn't make more people. So depopulationists are part of the solution, and people who are not depopulationists are part of the problem. Environmentalists want to save the planet, but they're too stupid to know how to do that. Depopulationists want to save the planet, and we're smart enough to know how to do that. Environmentalists like to talk about saving the planet. Depopulationists are actually saving the planet. Okay, human beings do not have the right to kill Earth, but that's what we're doing because we're stupid and we need to get smart. Human beings do not have the right to threaten to kill the environment, but that's what we're doing because we're stupid and we need to stop being stupid and start being smart. And that means the smart people, the depopulationists, need to explain this to the stupid people, the people who are not depopulationists. So that's what I'm doing. And that's frankly what I've been doing for the last 36 years. And hopefully I'll continue to do that for the next 36 years. I enjoy doing it. I'm good at doing it. But I do it even if I sucked at it and I didn't like it, because it's my duty as an intelligent human being to inform my species that it's a bad idea to kill Earth. And that's depopulationism. And I am a depopulationist. So if you're a depopulationist, great. If you're not a depopulationist, I hope you become one soon. And if you are a depopulationist, that's good, but it's not enough anymore. You need to get loud about it. You need to get political about it. You need to start kicking up some dust. You need to only vote for candidates that are publicly depopulationists, and you need to run for political office as a depopulationist, like me. And that's depopulationism. So we talked about love. We talked about depopulationism. Now we're going to talk about gig. Gig is global internet government. Gig is the world government. I created Gig in the year 2000 in Portland, Oregon. And Gig is going to unite the world politically and economically. Gig is a social media and a news media outlet. And gig is going to provide the foundation for all human beings to participate in and contribute to the world government. Gig is going to unite the world politically and economically. Gig is going to unite the world politically with freedom and equality and democracy and reproductive rights. And reproductive rights means that all human beings on Earth have the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control. And any government that does not completely and 100% agree with that is an illegitimate government. Illegitimate governments will be replaced quickly and peacefully by gig. So that's how gig is going to unite the world politically. Gig is going to unite the world economically through transparency, balanced budget amendments, trade agreements, and gig is going to monitor every financial transaction by every government on the planet Earth. Every financial transaction by every government on the planet Earth will be put online immediately and publicly by gig, and that way everybody can see where all the money's going. Who gets it, how much they got, when they got it, who they got it from, what they did with it, when they did that, why they did that, how they did that. 100% transparent, all government financial transactions on planet Earth. So that's how gigs can unite the world economically. So gig is like the European Union. Okay. China came up with democracy, or China came up with depopulationism, and I said, that's great, I'm going to improve it and make it available to everybody. Europe came up with the European Union, which is an international government that is expanding. And I said, that's great. I'm going to improve it. I'm going to make it available to everybody. And then I created gig. So the European Union and gig are very similar. They're both international governments that are expanding. So any government can be part of gig. Any country on Earth can join global internet government whenever they feel like it. They just have to agree to the terms, and then they have to have an election where the majority of the voters vote yes, we want into gig. Now the terms are, number one, the most important rule is that country has to make a constitution where it says it's illegal for anybody in this country to reproduce a second time. That's rule number one. The country has to become a depopulationist country. Rule number two is the country has to have total freedom of speech and total freedom of the press and democracy. Now, I can work with communist countries on this. There's a lot of wiggle room here. I love communism, and I can work with communists. I think they're great, and I can totally work with them on this. I can do it. This is my show, so I'm running this show, so I say I can do it, and I can, and I will. Okay, rule number three is you have to have under 3% inflation for 3 consecutive years. Now, that's going to be tough, but you know what? If you want to be part of gig, you're going to have to suck it up. And then there's going to be some other rules, but those are the big three, and the big one is number one. So if you want into gig, you got to obey those 3 rules, and you got to vote yourself in. And if you want out, you can vote yourself out. If you're in gig and you want out, then you have another election. And if the majority of the voters of that country say we want out of gig, you're out. Okay, so that's the deal. You can come in, you can go out, blah, 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 this and that. So it's pretty chill. So that's global internet government. So depopulationism is what we have to do as a species to save the planet and save ourselves. That's the goal. Gig is the plan on how to achieve that goal. Excuse me. So we talked about love, which is good. And we talked about depopulationism, which is good. And we talked about gig, which is good. And now we're going to talk about Fog Bank. Fog Bank is my cyber currency, that I created in 2019. Which, I like Bitcoin. I improved Bitcoin. I made it available to everybody, and I called it Fog Bank. Yeah. So, there it is. So Fog Bank is my cyber currency. The unit of currency of Fog Bank is the Fog Buck, F-O-G-B-U-K. Plural, F-O-G-B-U-X. And anybody anywhere can buy as many Fog Bucks as they want for 1 penny each. The value of Fog Buck is zero. Zero. Nothing. Now, hopefully, the value of Fog Buck will increase. It can't decrease because Fog Bank does not do debt or loans. So hopefully in the future, the value of a Fog Buck will increase to something. And at that point, the value of a Fog Buck will fluctuate up and down, which is the nature of all currencies, especially cyber currencies. There's also something called a Fog BIC, F-O-G-B-I-K, plural Fog BICs, F-O-G-B-I-X. Now, the value of Fog Buck and a Fog BIC are identical, always, forever. A Fog Buck is something you purchase from Fog Bank and then you have forever or until you give it away or spend it. A Fog BIC is something that Fog Bank gives to you as a present. You're welcome. And I'm giving everybody on the planet Earth 10,000 Fog BICs right now. And then, however, there's a catch. The catch is that Fog Bank reserves the right to suspend or terminate any Fog BIC at any time for any reason, including no reason at all. So, that's that. So that's Fog Bank. Now, there's a ceiling and a floor. The ceiling is if you have $1 trillion American dollars worth of Fog Bucks and you want more Fog Bucks, you can't have any more Fog Bucks. The floor is if you have less than 10 Fog BICs, you will receive another 10 Fog BICs for every week that you have less than 10 Fog BICs. So there's a ceiling and a floor. Right now, the gap between rich and poor is infinite and growing. So with Fog Bank, the gap between rich and poor is finite and shrinking. We're going to lower the ceiling. We're going to raise the floor. Also, every Fog Buck has a unique Fog Buck identification number, and every Fog BIC has a unique Fog BIC identification number, and every Fog Bank user has a unique Fog Bank user identification number, and every Fog Bank transaction has a unique Fog Bank transaction number. So Fog Bank is 100% transparent. Every unit of currency in Fog Bank is accountable for immediately online, so everybody everywhere can see exactly where all the units of currency of Fog Bank are and the entire history of the unit of currency. So you can always see where all the Fog Bucks and all the Fog BICs are and where they've been forever, even the ones that got deleted. 100% transparent. So basically, Fog Bank is a cyber currency, and eventually Fog Bank will become the cyber currency, and eventually Fog Bank will become the currency, and eventually Fog Bank will become the only currency. And that's because Fog Bank is going to eat all the money on Earth. Because people can still use dirty money, people can still use secret money, people can still use unfair money, but they'll choose not to because it doesn't make any sense. So we talked about love, depopulationism, gig, and Fog Bank. Now we're going to talk about the capital. Now, I'm the owner and the founder and the president of Gig and Fogbank. Gig and Fogbank are two totally separate things, and I own both of them completely and always will. However, there will be a day when I die or retire, and when that day comes, Fogbank and Gig are going to merge into one thing, and that thing will be an international nonprofit organization. And that thing will be called the Capital, and that thing will be run by the Assembly. Excuse me. And the Assembly is something that it's basically the United States House of Representatives. And every country on earth has one representative in the Assembly. And every country on the planet Earth has one representative in the Assembly for every 10 million people. So America would have 34 representatives in the Assembly. China and India would have 140 representatives in the Assembly. England would have 7 or 8 representatives in the Assembly. There'd be about 800 representatives in the Assembly. And it would be totally democratic. The majority would rule. So there'd always be an odd number of representatives in the Assembly, so there couldn't be any ties. And if an Assembly member is unable to vote, that Assembly member will be permanently and immediately replaced. And these Assembly members will be elected by their countrymen. And if their countrymen do not have the opportunity to elect their Assembly members, then I will appoint those Assembly members for that country. And these elections will take place every 5 years. And that's the Capital. And the Capital is going to pass legislation. And while I'm running Gig and Fogbank, that legislation will merely be advice to me, which I will ignore. However, when I retire and or die, the Assembly will pass legislation, and that legislation will be law because they'll be running the show because I'll be gone. And that is the world government. Democratically elected, democratically run world government. The Capital. Thank you. So, we talked about love. We talked about depopulationism. Depopulationism, what we have to do to survive. We talked about Gig. Gig's how we're going to implement the agenda of depopulationism. We talked about Fogbank. Fogbank is the future of money. I'm sure that factors in somewhere. And then we talked about the Capital, which is basically my crew that I'm creating to take over for me when I go away. So we have a few more minutes here to discuss things. So let's go on to the next topic. The next topic, of course, is me. I am Charles Webster Bear. I am 52. I'm single. I've never been married. I don't have any kids. I'm an atheist because I don't believe in God. I'm an agnostic because I think everybody's an agnostic. And I'm a Buddhist because I consider that to be the correct philosophy for me. And Buddha basically said, if the universe doesn't exist, you're the soul. Which I think is correct. However, it's one or the other. It can't be both. The universe either exists or it doesn't exist. If it exists, great, have fun. If it doesn't exist, well, then you're the soul. But it can't be both. So religion is basically a misinterpretation of Buddhism, which is the correct philosophy. But I don't want to get bogged down in that right now because I want to keep this video kind of short. So, we're talking about me. Well, I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, California. And I went to high school in Newport, Rhode Island. And in 1994, I graduated from the University of Hawaii at Hilo on the Big Island of Hawaii. And in 1995, I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And in 1999, I moved to Portland, Oregon. And in 2000, I created Global Internet Government. And in 2007, I moved to Bend, Oregon. And in 2014, I went to China for 3 years. China kicks ass. And then in 2019, I moved to Redmond, Oregon. And in 2020, I ran for the mayor of Redmond, Oregon, unsuccessfully. And next year, I'm going to run for the mayor of Redmond, Oregon again, as a depopulationist first and as a libertarian second. And in 2024 and 2028, I'm going to run for the president of the United States of America as a depopulationist first and a libertarian second. So we know what a depopulationist is. But what's a libertarian? Well, a libertarian is somebody who's fiscally conservative and socially liberal. If it has to do with money, I'm on the right wing. If it does not have to do with money, I'm on the left wing. That's a libertarian. So basically, this video is coming in at under a half hour, which is great. I'm basically done running my yap. I want to show you where I'm at. This is Misery Ridge. And that's the parking lot. And this place is really awesome. This place is actually called the Crooked River Caldera, which this place was created 30 million years ago by the Yellowstone hotspot when it was in California. It's volcanic ash. It's called welded tuff. And that's lava. That's basalt lava. But that's actually part of this supervolcano explosion that occurred 30 million years ago. And that's part of the basalt flow that occurred 15 million years ago. So they're two totally separate kinds of lava. This is volcanic ash from the Crooked River Caldera, which is a supervolcano explosion 30 million years ago from the Yellowstone hotspot in California. And that is the parking lot. That's just regular old lava basalt from the lava flow 16 million years ago. Anyway, this is Smith Rock State Park, and it's awesome. It's great. I love it. And it's a great, awesome spot. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm done talking. I came in at under half an hour, which is good, because that means I can like say what I want in less than half an hour, which is good. Anyway, so I'm done talking. Thank you very much for listening. Please make your own video where you talk about this stuff and you talk about your own personal opinions about these topics. Please get politically involved. Please get politically active. Please save the planet Earth. And thank you very much, and goodbye.